Please mute yourself and turn off your camera since we're in webinar form. That is already done for you. And we ask that you please hold your questions to the end of the presentation, and we'll have a Q&A section there where we will have time for you to ask any questions that you may have. Please note that the webinar is being recorded. And if you take a look at the current slide, it shows you all of the different features on Teams that you can use, including leaving the meeting, the attendees, and the chat. So let's take a little background snapshot of the program. And you know what? I realized that I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Kate Pickett-Irving. I'm the Virginia Enterprise Zone Program Administrator, and the other Program Administrator, Mandy Archer, is also on the webinar and will be presenting the second half of the presentation. So excuse me for not doing that sooner. But now we can jump into a little background snapshot of the program. So what is the Virginia Enterprise Zone Program? As most of you know, it's a collaboration between both the Commonwealth of Virginia and local governments to help boost job creation and boost investment in real property in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Our goal is to stimulate economic growth and rejuvenate economically challenged areas at both local and regional levels with the utilization of the Real Property Investment Grant and the Job Creation Grant, which are awarded annually on April 1st each year. There are 45 zones covering 245 square miles in 20 cities, 34 counties, and 12 towns. This is a little snapshot of the program summary. For grant year 2023, that was the grant year in which we gave job creation grants to companies who created jobs in calendar year 23 and companies who received their final placed in service documentation in calendar year 2023 received those real property investment grants. There were 40 job creation grants issued and 140 RPIGs issued. Over 15.2 million in total awards were dispersed. 3,274 jobs were created for an average of 82 qualified jobs per firm. Over $293 million of investment was leveraged privately by the companies, and over 2.09 million was the average for the QRPI per RPIG. So this year we've added in business spotlights between each data slide. We hope that will hopefully further keep your attention and also bring awareness to these awesome projects that received grant funding in this past year. So the first one we have is Brereton Properties, and that business was the Cider House. They are located in the city of Winchester, and they completed a rehabilitation and remodel of a single-story building. The interior and exterior rehabilitation required all new electric, plumbing, mechanical, HVAC, framing, drywall, insulation, concrete flooring, windows, etc. The building is home to the Cider House, which is the tasting room and restaurant for Winchester Cider Works. The total qualified real property investment was $379,498, and the company received an RPIG for $55,899. Let's take a look at funding and proration for grant year 2023. So the bar graph on the slide shows the surplus and shortfalls in the VEZ funds from 2019 to 2023. The General Assembly passed legislation in 2010 to give that funding priority to the JCGs. In 2019 and 2020, as you can see, like many past years, there was a funding shortfall of over 1.6 million in both years. 2021 was the first time in 10 years or over 10 years in which there was a surplus. And this was likely because grant year 21 included projects that received their final placed in service documentation in 2020. Many of those projects, as you know, were downsized, they were pushed off to finish later, or they were completely canceled due to COVID-19 and the many issues that it caused, including those supply chain issues. 2022, as you can see, had a surplus of more than 5 million, which was also likely due to the effects of COVID. And this past grant year, 2023, we had a surplus of only $1,033,050. Our next company highlight is Beam Properties. Their business is the Southern Charm Garden Center. Beam Properties purchased land with an existing 50-foot by 100-foot building on the property. The company did a complete rehab of the building and added a 50 by 60 addition with porches on two sides to make a more retail space in the front. The building is home to Southern Charm Garden Center, a garden center and gift shop in the city of Franklin's Enterprise Zone. The company received $56,086 in RPIG funds for a qualified investment of $380,433. RPIGs are granted to zone investors based on their qualified real property investments, which encompasses a varying spectrum of amounts. During grant year 2023, you can see that zone investors engaged in QRPI spanning from $116,771 for a rehabilitation of an existing building to over $42 million for a new construction project. So the pie graph that is on this slide shows an illustration of the zone investment ranges and the percentage of grant applications received in grant year 2023 that is within those ranges. In grant year 2023, the QRPI investments ranging from $100,000 to $499,999 comprised 31% of the grant applications, followed by those smaller investments making up 26% of the applications. Investments in the $1 million to $2 million bracket range followed closely, comprising 21% of those grant applications. And in grant year 2023, investments ranging from $2 million to $5 million comprised 9% of RPIG applications. Comparatively, applications in the $5 million to the $10 million range constituted 9% of the total applications. The largest QRPI range, which is 10 million and above, has the least amount of RPIG applications at only 7.5%, which is to be expected based on that higher range and the previous trends that we've seen. The total QRPI for grant year 2023 was $293,764,115. Investors with investments of at least $5 million encompassed 60% of the total QRPI made in 2023, while only being 13% of the total application. So that tells us that there were a lot of really large qualified investments this year that we previously hadn't seen that many different types of large qualified investments from different investors. Our next project highlight is KVAT Food Stores, which is Food City Supermarket. Food City Supermarket is located in Weber City in the Scott County zone, and they completed the remodel and expansion of their building in 2023. The company invested over $2.2 million on the expansion and received $100,000 in RPIG funds. The project expanded the store by 10,000 square feet, bringing the total square footage to over 58,000. A Starbucks, fresh food bar, Asian wok, brick pizza oven, and hickory smoker and pastry case were all added to the Food City and were part of that expansion. Let's take a look at those real property investment grants by property end use. RPIG funding is exclusively accessible for investments into commercial, industrial, or mixed-use properties where a minimum of 30% of that usable floor space is allocated to commercial, office, or industrial functions. Both retail and office properties fall under the category of commercial properties in the context of the real property investment grant. So as highlighted in the pie graph on the slide, commercial projects in grant year 2023 constituted the largest segment of projects, accounting for a little over 80% of those applications. The remaining 20% of applications were distributed among industrial projects, accounting for 10% of applications, and mixed-use projects accounting for the remaining 9%, and we have rounded those numbers. In grant year 2023, there were 113 RPIGs for commercial use, followed by 14 for industrial use and 13 for mixed-use developments. And this is a small highlight here on this photo. This is SIG, which is in Smith County. Our next highlight is R&B Properties, and they are the home, or this building is the home to electronic design and manufacturing. R&B Properties in the Lynchburg Enterprise Zone completed the expansion of an 11,400 square foot building that is connected to an existing building. The building is home to the Electronic Design and Manufacturing Company, which is a business that provides support for engineering, supply chain assembly, and other resources. The new addition contains space for their bulk inventory shortage, light electronics, PCB assembly, and a designated training area. The company invested over $1,497,000 in the project and received $100,000 in RPIC funds. Property enhancements that are eligible for RPIGs encompass new construction, rehabilitation of existing structures, expansion of current buildings or facilities, and solar projects. Projects in which solar was the only investment to the building or the facility were introduced as eligible in 2020, accompanied by a new and lower threshold for projects involving those solar installations as well. Grant year 2023, the rehabilitation of existing buildings and facilities accounted for the majority of grant applications in that bright blue, with 69% of projects in this category. They were followed by in orange, new construction, which was 23% of all applications. And this is consistent with past year's data. The consistently high number of rehabilitation projects each year highlights the program's success in achieving its goal of stimulating economic growth through revitalization projects. And here we have a photo of Huntington Ingalls, which is in Hampton, and they received an RPIG grant this year. Our next highlight is Cape Charles Mini Golf. They completed construction of a mini golf center consisting of a concession building and related mini golf structures. The company invested $673,584 in the construction of the facility and received $34,716 in RPIG funds. Qualified zone investors include property owners, occupant or non-occupant, owners of space within a larger building or facility, so that could be a condo, tenants leasing space and capitalizing any improvements made to that space, and developers capitalizing their investment before the property is sold. So as the pie graph on the slide shows, non-occupant owners of buildings and facilities are the most common type of qualified investor in grant year 2023, in that bright light blue. And that is followed by the owner occupant as the second highest type of investor in the green. Developers and tenants make up the smallest portion of qualified investors, with only 2% of the applications total. In grant year 2023, qualified investors that own space in a building comprise 10% of all RPIG applications, in that kind of darker, dull blue color on the pie graph. And this is a very significant change from grant year 2022, when there were no applications for investors that own space in a building. And so a good example of that is an office condo space, something like that. I also over here have a picture of Life's Journey in Portsmouth, who received an RPIG funding this year as well. Healthy Harvest Food Bank in the town of Warsaw's Enterprise Zone received $116,068 in RPIG funds in grant year 2023. The company completed an expansion and renovation of the food bank's existing facility, including interior renovations to the original building, solar panels, and construction of a greenhouse for an indoor aquaponic vegetable farming system. The company invested over $3,355,000 in the project. And I encourage you to look into some of these projects. They are really interesting, and you can use some of the things that they've done and some of the examples in your own localities. Now I will turn over the presentation for Mandy to go over the second half, which is our JCG overview.
Thanks, Kate, and thanks to everyone that has joined us today. So again, just to go over the JCG, the Job Creation Grant Overview. So in grant year 2023, there were 40 qualified businesses that received job creation grant funding, which is slightly higher from the previous grant year. There were 1,162 jobs were created over the past year. This only includes permanent full-time positions. And reminder, this is a year-over-year look at jobs created by firms that are applying. DHCD dispersed $2,029,655 in total job creation grant awards, and the award per job created was $1,746 with an average of 29 new jobs per firm. And there was a total of 3,274 qualified jobs and an average of 82 qualified jobs per firm. And just also as a reminder, total qualified jobs is the total amount of jobs created by companies in the current year prior to subtracting the 4 job minimum threshold. In keeping with the theme, we have a photo and some information about NVR Inc. NVR is the parent company of Bryant Homes, NV Homes, and Heartland Home Brands, and is located in the Enterprise Zone in Prince George County. They did receive both an RPIG and JCG awards in grant year 2023. Their RPIG award was $100,000. And in addition, the company received $120,248 in JCG funds for creating 154 jobs. This was their 5th year that the company applied to and received JCG funds. And in the last 5 years, NVR has received a total of $513,040 in JCG funds. Now we're going to talk about the job creation grant by wage rates. So JCG award amounts are determined based on wage rates for newly created positions with eligible firms. In high unemployment areas, also known as HUAs, and businesses that are SWAM certified, businesses creating new positions with wage rates between 125% to 149% of the minimum wage are eligible for grant awards of up to $500 per position. For businesses paying employees at 175% or above the minimum wage, the grant amount becomes $800 per eligible position. For areas outside of HUAs, eligible businesses must pay their employees at least 150% of the minimum wage to qualify for a grant award of $500. The higher grant amount of $800 is available for positions paid at over 175% of that minimum wage. And of course, during the 2023 grant cycle, the job creation grant minimum wage thresholds were adjusted to align with the increased minimum wage rates. So approximately 20%, 21%, or 775 jobs, which you'll see in that orange color on this pie graph, of all jobs met or exceeded 150% threshold, earning a $500 grant award per eligible position. And consistent with previous years, most jobs awarded a grant are those paying at least 175% of the minimum wage. In grant year 2023, 67% or 2,492 of total jobs surpassed the 175% threshold, leading to an $800 grant award per eligible position. And next, we have a photo and information about Kenmore Envelope Company, Inc. Kenmore Envelope Company is a leader in lithoprint and convert envelopes that uses industry-leading technology, is located in the Henrico County's Enterprise Zone, and the company applied for and received its 5th year of JCG funds. In grant year 2023, the company created 64 jobs and received a total of $44,542. But over the 5 years, Kenmore has received over $182,000 in grant award funds. So just to talk a little bit about the job creation grant by sector, which we do track, the industry sector of each entity receiving JCGs is tracked using the North American Industry Classification System, or what I also call the NAICS codes. And as with previous grant cycles, the largest share of qualified firms in grant year 2023 were manufacturers, representing 60% of all grantees. And you'll see that on this pie chart in that darker green color. Construction and professional scientific services were the second largest job grantees, with a combined 20% of qualified firms receiving grants. And the remaining 20% of grantees represent the following industries: healthcare, social assistance, transportation and warehousing, wholesale trade, and administration and support, along with waste management and remediation. Comparatively, in grant year 2022, manufacturing was the largest sector with 61%. Construction and wholesale were the next largest at 13 and 8% respectively. And a little bit different from this year, professional and scientific was only 2% last year. Next, we do have Aldora Aluminum and Glass Products, Inc. They created 31 net new jobs and received $21,583 for their first year of applying for JCG funds. This lump this company that is located in Newport News Enterprise Zone is a glass and aluminum systems fabricator. The company built a 72,000 square foot fabrication facility in Newport News in 2022, and they serve a 150-mile geographical radius. Next, we have Crown Cork and Seal USA. And Crown Cork and Seal, which is located in Henry County's Enterprise Zone, completed new construction of an industrial aluminum can manufacturing facility in Ridgeway. Crown Cork and Seal was founded in 1892 and headquartered in Yardley, Pennsylvania. And Crown Holdings Inc., through its subsidiaries, is a leading global supplier of rigid packaging products to consumer marketing companies, as well as transit and protective packaging products, equipment, and services to a broad range of end markets. Crown Holdings has operations in 47 countries, employing over 33,000 people. The company also received $200,000 in RPIG funds for a qualified real property investment of over $42 million. In addition, the company created 140 jobs and received $109,200 in job creation grant funds. So next, we're going to move on to the appendices of the annual report, which includes additional data, information, and especially resources that can be helpful to you throughout the year as a local zone administrator. So here we have a snapshot of Appendix A, and this includes zone highlights. These are little summaries of projects in each zone. This is somewhat like what we've done throughout the presentation, and we do gather those through annual reports that you submit and also looking at the applications that are submitted. Next, we've got a snapshot of Appendix B, which is the zone map. This map shows all of the localities with zones and the outline of those zone boundaries. And so more detailed information for your zone boundaries can be found on the VEDP GIS website with the enterprise zone layer. Just as a note, we are going to be reaching out to localities that have amended their boundaries this year and in previous years, just to ensure that we have the most updated GIS data for the localities' zone boundaries. Next, we have Appendix C, which is local incentives. So this is a list of each locality's local incentives offered in the enterprise zone. This is a great resource for you all to see what other localities are offering and to get ideas for new incentives that your locality may want to offer. We also know there's a lot of interest and need for more information and understanding of local easy incentives. So we're planning on hosting a webinar in February. We do want to do this after the How to Qualify, and apparently my son's coming in. I apologize. But we want to host this after the How to Qualify workshops in January. So again, look for information about a webinar in February on local incentives. We'll include information on the most commonly offered incentives, ideas for specific conditions that can be set on incentives, and innovative incentives. So keep in mind, we're going to be reaching out to a few of you local zone administrators to share your experiences and ideas for this webinar. If you have interesting incentives that you'd like to talk about and share, please reach out to one of us and we can include you on the agenda. Next, we have Appendix D, which is the summary of incentive utilization. This is the chart, shows the zone number, locality, acreage, designation year, and expiration year. The next half of the chart lists the number of grants per year for the last 5 years and the total amount of grant funding dispersed in grant year 2023 and the percent of the total amount of grants from 2023. Next, we've got Appendix E that'll show the high unemployment areas for that grant year. So these were the HUAs for grant year 2023. And HUAs are enterprise zone localities with unemployment rates 1.5 times or more than the state average based on the most recent annualized unemployment data published by the Virginia Employment Commission. So the following localities were HUAs for grant year 2023. As you can see here, we've got Zone 32, which was Brunswick County, Zone 1 and Zone 57, City of Danville, Zone 49, Dickinson County, Zone 43, City of Emporia, Zone 9, City of Hopewell, Zone 36, City of Martinsville, and Zone 10, City of Petersburg. Now, if a locality is in a joint zone with another locality that's an HUA, that locality is not, the locality is not an HUA solely based on being in that joint zone. So the towns, so for example, the towns in Dickinson County were not HUAs, even though Dickinson County is. So looking ahead, we want to go ahead and give you just a little bit of information about upcoming events at the beginning of next year. As you know, when 2025 starts, we will be working on the Virginia Enterprise Zone Grant Year 2024. This includes jobs created in 2024 and projects that receive final place and service documentation in 2024. So the first week of January, the Easy Application Submission Portal will be open to accept grant applications. We will be holding how to qualify workshops or in-person how to qualify workshops in 4 locations throughout the Commonwealth, as well as an online webinar that will be recorded. So keep an eye out for those. And in February, again, just as a reminder, we plan on hosting an online training for local zone administrators on local incentives. And then coming up in March, we will also have a local zone administrator training on renewal applications for the following grant year. So now we do have some information or some time for questions answered. We've presented a lot of information. There's a lot of information in the annual report. And so if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. Or I know that we have disabled the sound, but I think if you raise your hand, we should be able to let you ask that question, but if you'd like to put them in the chat as well. And I think, Kate, we had one from earlier that someone had asked.
Right. Hi, Nicole. I see that you asked when you will know if the easy renewals from the summer were renewed. So easy renewals have gone through the process in our agency level, and those go up to the governor's office. They are currently awaiting approval by the governor, and as soon as we hear back from him, we will get that information to you. We should know by the end of the calendar year, so in the next month. While the rest of you are thinking of questions that you may want to ask, I want to let you know that we're going to be sending out an email to LZAs with the recording link, as well as a copy of the new HUA list for grant year 24 and the new wage rates for the job creation grant for grant year 24 as well. I also want to make you aware that we have redesigned the page of the website for the Virginia Enterprise Zone that's on DHCD's website. If it still looks the same to you as before, then you might need to clear your cache on your computer history, and then it should bring up the new look of the page. Instead of the narrative information going down the page, you should see a section at the top with a little bit of information and a photo, and then 3 boxes that drop down and include resources and links for you, as well as the manuals and other documentation. I know that you must have questions. Please feel free to use the raise your hand feature or put the question in the chat. And I see a question from Mallory. What's timeline for boundary amendments application approval? Does governor's office get involved in these? Good question, Mallory. So the governor's office does not have to approve those boundary amendments. Those go through the process here at our agency. Mandy, can you give an update about where those are right now? I can't remember if we've sent them up to our agency or not yet.
Sure. So they are just still in the final review process through, they go through the program administrators, as well as Tori, the program manager, and then get sent up the chain. So we have an internal deadline of really the end of next week to make sure that we get those into the proper hands of up the chain in our agency. And so the turnaround time on that, I think, has usually been about 2 weeks. So we hope to have that information by mid-December.
What other questions do you have? Alicia, let's see, you mentioned there was a surplus in 2023. It looked like grants needed to be prorated in 2019. Yes, that's right. I believe, and I can go back to that slide. I want to say that 2021 was the first year that grants were not prorated in about 10 years, possibly. So I hope I didn't give you all a headache by clicking through those slides like that. But here is that slide again. Yes, grants were prorated in 2019 and in 2020. And an important thing to say is that this annual report is posted on our website, on our web page. Mandy, can you drop that in the chat? I'm afraid my screen will show up and it'll get rid of the presentation. But Mandy will drop the link to our web page in the chat, and you can find the annual report on the web page. And of course, our goal every year is to get all that money out the door as much as we can. It would be great if we could, get right on the dot and get all the money out the door and not have to have any proration at all. Corbin says, can you share the payroll rates for the 2024 grant year? We are in the process of planning for potential applicants. Yes, we will be sending out that wage rate document, and we will definitely be sending that to the CPAs as well, Corbin. And we'll send you all the HUA list as well when we send it out to the LZAs. And I'm not positive, but I do believe that the new wage rate document is up on the website. I'm going to have to double check that. Mandy has posted the web page link on the chat.
And yeah, I'll just verify that on the chat, and I'll put, there's a document under eligibility on the right-hand side. And so it says job creation grant eligibility, and there is a document, which I'll put right here as a link for those wage rate information.
Thank you, Mandy.
Yes.
What other questions do you all have? We are in the process now of setting up the dates, times, and locations of those how to qualify workshops that will be in January. They will be in 4 locations throughout the Commonwealth, like Mandy said, and of course, there will be an online one as well. We hope if you can that you'll attend an in-person training. We would love to see you in person since we don't get to do that very often except at those VITA conferences. But I think that's all we have for you. If there are no more questions, you can see on the screen our contact information for myself, for Mandy, and for our program manager, Tori McGowan. Tori is the program manager not only for the Enterprise Zone program, but for the entire real estate office at DHCD. So he's the program manager for Enterprise Zone, the Industrial Revitalization Fund, and the Port Host Community Fund. So if you have questions about those programs, you can talk to Tori as well. Any final questions, thoughts, comments? All right, so we'll be sending you the information about HUAs, about wage rates, and the recording link. Also, keep a lookout for those how to qualify workshop invites. And the next trainings will be the how to qualify workshops. We will not be doing LZA training in December. And be on the lookout for the news about the amendment approval and the renewal approvals. Those will be coming out in December as well before the end of the calendar year. And if we don't get to talk to you before then, I hope you have a great December and happy holidays with whatever holidays you celebrate with your friends and family. And thank you all for all of your work at the local level. We appreciate you, and we hope you have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye.